everybody, Brad the Guitarologist here with another exciting video for you. We're going to look at a couple of the things that I found recently at antique stores. One of the things I found was this. This is a Shure Model 55. This is actually specifically a Model 55AS. I did also get this mic stand with it and a cable. I don't know, we may even have to service this thing, but here's one thing. See, if I shake it, the insides they feel kind of loose.
Are you tired of watching hours of confusing videos by guitar music theory experts on YouTube and still not understanding a darn thing they're on about? Then you need Song, the guitar chord family app. Song organizes 6,000 guitar chords into their relative major and minor keys, showing you all the ones that sound good together. Downloading Song is like downloading music theory straight into your brain. Try it now for free. Link is in the description. So fast forward 3 years and this Shure 55AS microphone, which I believe is from 1958 or 1959, has been more of a display piece than something I've used, but I think with a little TLC we can improve both its appearance and usefulness. So first thing to do is disassemble it by removing the front grille and the internal mounts for the transducer element, which I've already done here. As you can see, I've already removed the grill cloth also, which was originally a woven blue sheer material. Some research I've done suggests that the blue material was used on the 55 predominantly in the 1950s, and what Shure would do is buy a huge bolt of this fabric that they had tested to be as sonically transparent as possible, and then when all that was used up, they would buy another bolt of fabric and use that until it was gone, and depending on what colors were available at the time of the changeover, that's what they would use going forward. For more on Unidyne 1 and 2 history, check out the excellent webinar History of the Unidyne 55 Microphone by Shure corporate historian Michael Patterson.
Notice the blue foam. The blue foam is the same color as the original Unidyne II grill cloth. When we brought out this 55 Unidyne II, 2009, we had people criticize it online and said, well, that was dumb. Why didn't you make it black like the original grill cloth? Of course, it wasn't. We went back and we did the research and we found out that it was blue. One thing that always confused me about the Unidynes is I would look in the catalogs, particularly in the 40s and the 50s, and it would never say what color was the grill cloth. Turned out for a very practical reason. We would go down to a local fabric store, not far from where actually Shure in Evanston was, and they would bring a device that would measure the acoustical impedance of cloth. Basically, you'd take a piece of cloth, hold it over this device, it would blow air through it, and you would see how much air got through it. That would measure the acoustical impedance. And when they found something that worked, they would buy a bolt of that cloth and would use that cloth until it ran out. So what colors were approved? Black was approved, brown was approved, red was approved, and blue was approved. They tried white, but the problem with white is back then so many people smoked that it would turn yellow fairly quickly. So when you go back and you look at Unidyne 1s and Unidyne 2s from the 40s and the 50s, you will find them with various colors of cloth inside, but the catalogs never described what color it was because they never knew when that bolt of cloth would run out and they'd have to switch to another color. Here's inside of the 2009, this Super 55, and this is a look inside of that. You can see the blue cloth, or blue foam, excuse me. By the way, we use foam instead of cloth because, first of all, foam actually takes the shape better, but it also is more consistent as far as acoustical impedance compared to cloth.
So you can clearly see the difference in the capsules from the newer reissues and these early 1950s models. The ones originally were cardioid patterns, whereas the current ones are super cardioid, and I think they're based on like the Beta 58s. But here's the capsule for the one that I have. You can pretty much ignore these little pieces of felt. I put these on there to try to keep this thing from moving around inside the case as much as it was before. This was kind of a stopgap measure before we could get to this point where we're actually doing some restoration on it. I'll probably do something similar, but find perhaps a better material. Here on the bottom of the capsule, we have some kind of little possibly date code. We have a 99-137, it looks like there, and then a 1115. You can also see the remnants where they also use that blue cloth on the capsule itself. So they have shrouded the capsule in the same blue cloth that they used on the outside of the unit. Here you can see the capsule wires run to an internal transformer covered in a yellow tape, and several wires running to a phenolic eyelet board. These early Unidyne II mics came with a switch that would allow you to switch between high, medium, and low impedance output. This switch was later discontinued in 1970. Here on the inside top of the unit is the patent information. It says Shure Brothers Incorporated, Evanston, Illinois. This model was first made only 2 years after Shure's move to Evanston. Many of the patents listed here for the Unidyne models were first filed by a man named Benjamin Bauer. My model, the Model 55AS, was put into production in 1958 and came set from the factory with a 2-wire high-impedance cable with a 1/4-inch foam plug. Other models came with low-impedance balanced outputs for better shielding and longer-distance cable runs. But of course, those would require higher gain preamps and impedance matching transformers on the PA or recording equipment to be as useful. My example also came with a 3-connector Amphenol plug, which was replaced on all Shure Unidyne microphones with an XLR plug after 1978. And there's a better look at the impedance switch from the outside of the unit. The switch would allow impedances from 30 to 50 ohms for low impedance, 150 to 250 ohms for medium impedance, and 35K for high impedance applications. So the game plan on this mic is to give it a good cleaning first. The thing was pretty filthy and grungy when I got it, and by this point in the filming, I'd already cleaned a lot of the grime with alcohol and cotton swabs. Most of the plating was still in okay shape, and although the back of the transducer had taken a beating from being dislodged from its internal mounts at some point, it was still in perfect working order and sounded great. Speaking of mounts, here's what the bottom of the mounting plate looked like. I can't know for sure what kind of suspension medium they used in this originally, but whatever it was, possibly rubber, it had long since hardened into this black mess. We'll have to remove and replace this with some kind of foam or rubber suspension material. Another part of our game plan here will be to possibly replace this Amphenol connector with an XLR connector and run a 3rd wire from the internal socket up to the case for a balanced connection. So now we turn our attention to the outside grill, which was still pretty grimy. In between the grills, you can see old adhesive residue, which needs to be cleaned off. I used a combination of cotton swabs with alcohol and just brute force scraping with a flat screwdriver in stubborn spots to clean it up. In hindsight, soaking it in a kerosene bath might have been a better idea for removing the old glue. You just have to be prepared to reattach the logo afterwards, as it would probably come off too if you did that. Okay, so we're back with this microphone now, and I've pretty much got it cleaned up, and by all cleaned up, I mean all that adhesive off the inside of the grill. So we're going to set that aside for just a second. I do need to add that 3rd wire and convert this to a balanced input, and not really too sure exactly how to do that with this old Amphenol connector. I think I want to keep the old Amphenol connector in it. Maybe. Now the alternative would be to install one of these, which is the XLR style connector, 3-plug. But the thing is, I already have the original cable with this thing too. Really, the only thing I would really have to do is just change this end on the cable, rather than changing. You see what I'm trying to say. Rather than changing this part of the mic, might make more sense. I do need to at least take this off of here so that I can run one more wire up through the body. So I'm going to have to disassemble it a little bit more. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. So actually, you know what? It looks like maybe there is a connection to the case already. Okay, so you see what I mean? There's a spring here, and the spring is connected to one of the connections, and then the other 2 connections are connected Also, I think I might have to open this thing back up now to get the spring back up here, because I believe it was held on up here by that tensioner. I'm not sure how I'm gonna get that spring shield back up there now. I wish I hadn't taken that screw out. So let that be a lesson to you. The little tensioner screw right here, don't take that out. Apparently, because it was actually holding on this little spring inside of there. Oh yeah, oh there it is right there, no problem. Okay, no problem. All right, so that will just, this will tension down onto that spring to keep it from falling out. Alright, now we definitely don't want that one coming out because it's acting as strain relief for these other two, so... Alright. When you know the screw doesn't fit, so I gotta find a different screw. I'm not sure if I have any mounting screw. I might have to steal one off a cable or something to make this work. Now it's time to clean the old crusty rubber suspension material out of the bottom mount. I thought for a minute about using these rubber feet I found as suspension material, but ended up opting for some foam instead, which we'll see later. Here I'm stripping back and fixing a couple of the wires that accidentally broke during the process of moving this thing around so much. The wires were real stiff. So as we saw earlier in the video, the new Shure Super 55 microphones come with a foam windscreen rather than woven cloth, so this is what I opted for in my restoration. The idea being for everything to hopefully be more snug and also more resistant to pops and wind. The foam is still very acoustically transparent material, so the sound shouldn't be affected. I bought a couple of these cheap windscreens in blue, hoping I could modify them to work. As we'll see, the results are okay, but could have been better. Well, I got the capsule in there, but it was a fight. You know, it's not perfect, but I think it's going to be better than it was, and I think it's going to have a decent look to it from 2 feet away, at least. At least it's not going to have the big holes in the screen like it did have that were letting a bunch of dirt and everything in, and if nothing else, it'll be a cleaner microphone overall. Okay, so there's the mic finally back together. It is not anywhere near perfect. I think really I might have to, at some point down the road, order some sheets of this blue stuff so that it's flat, so it's not, all curved up and stuff, because I was having to deal with something that really wasn't made to fit this. So anyway, I made it fit as best I could. I've got a couple areas where it didn't quite go all the way across the grill, but the thing is, this is technically now this is a much better microphone. It is very tight in there. The mounts are all secure. It is isolated from metal on metal, so it should sound a hell of a lot better. Hopefully, we'll plug it in and give it a test. But yeah, one final look at it. I think, like I said, it could be better, but hell, I think it looks a hell of a lot better than when I started. So it's got that going for it. Okay, so here we go. Here is the end result. Really, there's a lot less noise with this thing. Before there was a lot of handling noise, and it's dampened down, I think, quite a bit due to the foam. But I think it sounds really great. Love me tender, love me true, never let me go. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfilled. For my darling, I love you, and I always will. Well, it's a blue, blue, blue suede shoes, baby. A blue, blue, blue suede shoes, yeah. A blue, blue, blue suede shoes, honey. A blue, blue, blue suede shoes. So you can do anything but lay off of my blue suede shoe. All right, so that'll do it for this microphone. This is, like I said, between a 1958 to 1961 Shure 55 AS. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, hit subscribe, and for now, we'll see y'all later. Go, Cap!